Hi, everybody. So welcome to the first lecture of Walt Disney and Children's Literature. This little lecturette will be going over Walt Disney, the history behind a cultural icon. And I just want to preface that I think it's really important to get some context and some background information before we delve into more deeper forms of analysis through our different case studies of the animated film, just because it is really important to understand who is making these films, who is kind of the creative process around it. And another note before I begin is I think it's really important to make a distinction between Walt Disney and the Walt Disney Company. Obviously, Walt Disney is an individual who had an who had an immense translation, and he put so much work into this business. But the business is still functioning today, even without Walt Disney alive. So I think it's really important to kind of create a separation between those because we want to give credit where it's due. Disney was not the only animator working on these films and working on these teams. There were plenty and plenty of animators who need to be credited beyond just Walt Disney. So let's begin. So who was Walt Disney? So here we have a picture of Walt Disney holding Donald Duck and a copy of Alice in Wonderland. Little flashback to our class, if you may. And Walt Disney was born on December 5th, 1901. And he was what people would consider a jack of many trades. He was an entrepreneur who launched a massive conglomerate business that has swept the world off its feet. He was an artist and an animator. He was a writer. He was a voice actor of Mickey Mouse, and he was a film producer. Along with his brother Roy, Walt founded the Disney Brothers Studio in the 1920s, which would eventually become the Walt Disney Company. And while Roy, his brother, was kind of the business side of the company, Walt was more about the creative drive. Walt definitely had a bit more sway over where the company would go in business endeavors, but Roy was kind of the money maker. He would control the numbers and things like that. And so at Disney Brothers Studio in the 1920s, this is where Mickey Mouse was developed, who's kind of become the face of the Walt Disney Company. And this was from Disney's first successful film, Steamboat Willie. So moving on, Disney has had a huge effect on the entertainment industry. While Disney was still alive, he introduced full color, Technicolor, and synchronized sound that he used in his animated films. These were huge technological innovations in the film industry. And his film work has made monumental changes, and his films continue to be adapted and turned to for inspiration. If we're looking for kind of a relevant recent example, so many of his animated films are being turned into live action features now. We think of different ones like Mulan and The Lion King. All of these Disney films are being turned into live action films that were used with the processes that Disney introduced during his time in the filmmaking industry. So Disney's company has become a huge conglomerate. Disney owns the ABC Broadcasting Company, and this is really important because ABC has a huge sway in the broadcasting industry. Disney also owns many film divisions, 20th Century, Pixar, Marvel Studios. Many of the films we know and love today can be traced to have some relation to the Disney Company. It's kind of mind-boggling to know that this company has some sort of connection to all of these films that we know and love. Additionally, cable television networks, Freeform, which was formerly ABC Family, Disney Channel, ESPN, FX, and National Geographic. So when we think about Disney, I think often we think about, the animations, the cartoons, the characters that we all know and love from our childhood. But Disney is so much more than that. They have pervaded all areas of the entertainment industry, news, sports, natural biology information, at all forms of entertainment for all ages. So I think it's really important to touch on that, especially when we're discussing the history of Disney. So Uncle Walt as a cultural icon. So Uncle Walt was a nickname given to Walt Disney, just because he was kind of that family character that reminded you of an uncle in your family. He was so instrumental to so many families in the time that he was alive. So, and I think it's really interesting to think about the cultural icon, but also there is a dark side to Disney that I think really needs to be talked about and discussed, because if we are putting this man on a pedestal, we need to know who we are putting on this pedestal, because he has not had the purest past. So for example, in 1941, animators from Disney's team went on strike after Walt refused to join the Animators Guild or raise their wages. So Walt blocked his workers from unionizing and even fired pro-union workers. So this is a big thing. A lot of the time we hear stories of clashes between Walt Disney and his employees. It just was not a very healthy relationship between the two. Additionally, Walt has faced many allegations of anti-Semitism and racism, and some of his animated works support this notion. There are subtle hints here and there of different comments that can be taken this way. And in recent years, a lot of these, little hints have been brought to the light and, analyzed in a deeper, meaningful way, given these revelations about Walt's past and his allegations. So Disney has come to be known as an example of American imperialism. Just think about the domination that he has and his company has had in the entertainment industry. Disney had high ambitions for the legacy of his company. We'll see in his parks and in many of his animated films, there is this element of the future, of progress. Disney was obsessed with progress. And Disney wanted America to come out first. He wanted the United States to be the leader of progress. And so he's kind of become emblematic for American imperialism. And so then another example of Disney's kind of controversial side, in a rejection sent in response to a female applicant, Walt wrote that women do not take part in any of the creative work, and it should all be left to the men. Disney's employment of women has brought in some controversy as well. There's been a long history of unfair wages throughout all of Disney's employment history, but especially with women. And given the work that they were often given menial tasks and different tasks other than the creative force that Disney was in charge of with the company. So it's really important to recognize that Uncle Walt was not the golden boy of America. He may have been in his time, known as Uncle Walt, but it's really important to recognize the man behind the face. So Walt Disney in politics. So Disney was openly anti-communist and spoke often in support of a free market economy. It's really important to keep in mind the context of when Disney was alive and when his business was booming. This was happening during the Red Scare. And he was so much of an anti-communist that often he would go as far to expose his workers and employees as suspected communists. So if we think back to the example on the last slide about his workers trying to unionize and be part of the Animators Guild, a lot of them were accused by Disney and the company as communists since they wanted fair wages. Additionally, Disney was an avid supporter of the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. And this is an openly anti-Semitic organization that Disney worked with extensively, and has even that organization has housed many Nazi supporters, and so it really needs to deserve some mention to talk about Walt Disney's involvement with politics, especially the company's affiliation with politics. So if dominating the entertainment industry wasn't enough, Let's go to theme parks. So in 1955, Disneyland, an immersive theme park located in Anaheim, California, opened, and it focused around the many characters featured in Disney's film. So one of the major parts of Disney's parks is Cinderella's castle. So here in this picture, we see Disney kind of going about and looking at his plans for Disneyland. And here we have this castle. It's this huge major attraction in his theme parks. And so after the commercial success of Disneyland, the company opened Walt Disney World, which is located in Orlando, Florida in 1971. Walt died before the park opened in 1966, but Roy carried on with the opening of Walt Disney World. And now the two parks today are still open, still functioning, and are some of the most attended theme parks in the entire world, especially in the United States. Space Mountain at Walt Disney World is one of the most popular theme park rides in the entire world. So it's really interesting the connection he has had to the entertainment industry in so many different ways through technology and through those theme parks as well. So I have some more pictures of Walt Disney. So here are kids on the opening day of Disneyland. And so this is in the upper left corner here. In the lower left corner, we have the Roy Disney Animation Building, which is where a lot of the ideas and commercial side of the business today happen. In the middle, we have a younger Walt Disney with his prized golden kind of emblem that is Mickey Mouse. Then we have Walt Disney with Mickey Mouse at Disneyland. And here in the lower right, we have Disney World. And in Disney World, right in front of Cinderella's castle, we have a picture, forgive me, a statue of Walt Disney holding Mickey Mouse's hand, welcoming everyone into the parks. So this is all I had for you. Here are my sources. I really want to encourage you to go on to that post-reflection questions and really think about what the information you learned about Walt Disney relates to your preconceived notions of Disney and how you feel about this. How do you think the history of Disney has been implanted in the way you perceive Disney in the past? Are there mentions and things that you have noticed, but that haven't really been mentioned in popular media or kind of more in a professional academic setting that you noticed that were discussed here? So just reflect on that, and then you are welcome to move on to the rest of the modules. And I really hope you enjoy. Thank you very much.